Hello, future Boilermakers, and welcome to our live Q&A broadcast about organizational leadership and human resource development majors here at the Department of Technology, Leadership, Innovation at Purdue University. Congratulations to our student viewers who've been admitted to Purdue. My name is Rebecca Yoder, Associate Director of Recruitment and Diversity. Professors and current students are here tonight as our panelists, and I will ask them to introduce themselves in a minute. You can submit questions via YouTube chat video by signing into Google account and typing them in. Our technical director, John O'Malley, will be monitoring the chat and will try to pass along your questions. If you don't get your questions tonight, please feel free to send them the following email to techrecruit@purdue.edu. That's techrecruit@purdue.edu, and we will respond later. Before we get into our discussion, I would like to ask our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us a little about what they teach. Good evening, Natalie. We'll start with you.
Hey, Natalie, it's John behind the scenes. I think you're still muted.
Oh. Hi, sorry about that. My name is Nathalie Duval-Couetil, and I'm a professor in the Technology Leadership and Innovation Department, primarily focused on human resource development. Over the years, I've taught a number of courses. Most recently is strategic planning for human resources. Yep.
Thank you. Scott, can you introduce yourselves and tell us what you teach?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Hutcheson, and I teach organizational leadership at Purdue, and I also help lead and direct that undergraduate program. I teach currently a course called Leading Organizational Change, a course called Leadership Philosophy, and a course called Leading for Competitive Advantage. So those are the three undergraduate courses that I'm teaching currently. I've been at Purdue almost a quarter of a century, 25 years, but only in this role for the last 3 or 4. And it's the best spot yet I've had as a Boilermaker.
Thanks, Scott. For our student panelists, would you please introduce yourself and tell us your year and where you're from? Avery, let's start with you.
Hi, I'm Avery Allen. I'm a sophomore in human resource development, and I'm from Springfield, Illinois.
Avery. Good evening, Sara.
Hi, my name is Sara Arndt. I'm a senior in organizational leadership, double majoring with English literature, and I'm from Northwest Indiana from a town called Munster.
Okay, hi, Meridian. You're next.
Hello, I'm Meridian Beal. I'm a junior in human resource development, and I'm just south of Indianapolis, so from the Franklin, Indiana area.
Awesome. All right, last but not least, hi there, Karla.
Hi, my name is Karla Rodiles. I'm a freshman majoring in human resource development, and I'm from Des Plaines, Illinois.
Awesome. Thanks, Sara and Karla and Meridian and Avery. Natalie, may I please begin with you? Tell us about the human resource development major at Purdue. Specifically, would you please tell us a little about the plan of study, where students start studying in the first year in general, and how does it get more specialized as they get closer to their senior year?
Sure. So like most majors at Purdue, you tend to start with some introductory courses that teach you the fundamentals, and then progressively throughout your degree, you get more and more specialized. And HRD is that to some extent. But I think in the department, we try to intersperse required courses with courses that are also very connected to your major, so you get a sense of your major throughout your academic program. So for example, in your first year, you'll have courses such as the foundations of organizational leadership. You will have some required introductory psychology and sociology courses. Also, for instance, a course on speech communication. Then as you get to your, we'll skip over the second year, but as you get to your third year, you get much more focus. So on courses directly related to HRD, like training and talent development, employment and labor law, job design, negotiations, and even a course on financial management. And then senior year, again, courses in global human resources, people analytics, talent acquisition, and things that are really preparing you to be kind of ready to go as soon as you get into your career. I think one really unique thing about this major is that if you graduate with the HRD major, you can sit for the Society for Human Resource Management's certification exam. Now, typically you can only sit for that exam if you've been out in the work world for 2 years, but students who complete this program can take that exam.
Wonderful, thank you. Scott, a similar question for you. Would you please tell us about organizational leadership, its plan of study, and in broad terms, how your students progress in their first year to their senior year?
Sure. So there are some similarities to what Nathalie described. And in fact, the HRD students and organizational leadership students will be in some of the same courses, especially early. In terms of the program itself, it's a program that's actually been around a long time at Purdue. I tell folks that our program was born in 1964, and that's the same year I was born. So the program is 58 years old. And of course, it has changed a lot over the years because the nature of organizations has changed a lot over the years, and the way in which we think about leadership has as well. One of the distinctions I think of the program is that it is about leadership. There are other places you can go in our great university and learn about management, but we focus on what does it mean to lead an organization. And we help students kind of walk through kind of different levels of leadership, figuring out what kind of leader they are. Right? So looking at yourself, how do you lead? What's the style of leadership that best fits you, and how can you try on other styles of leadership? And then how do you lead in teams? And then how do you lead entire organizations? We have students that end up working for small startups, for nonprofits, but a lot go into large organizations and take on a team lead role right away. So in terms of the plan of study, again, like you heard about HRD, it starts out with some basics, some things like an orientation to organizational leadership, where you learn about some of those archetypes of how different people lead organizations. And then may sound like a similar course, but it's called Foundations of Organizational Leadership. And that looks at some of the theories and the constructs that have been around a while, but they're still very relevant. That's why we call them foundational. And then you also, that first year, have some quantitative reasoning, which is kind of another word to talk about statistics, but how do you make decisions based on statistics? And as you progress, you get deeper into the topic of leadership. You will cover ethics. You will cover the courses that I teach are usually 300 and 400 level. So how do you lead organizational change? How do you help organizations gain and keep competitive advantage? So that's another course that I teach. And then in the fourth year, that's where that leadership philosophy course comes in. And we hope that your philosophy of leadership will change in year 4 than maybe it was in year 1 after being introduced to lots of different ways to think about leadership. And I love that class because we do 2 things. We look at what philosophy can teach us about being a better leader, but then our students develop their own philosophy of leadership. And again, that will probably change a few years after graduation. So that's a little bit about the plan of study and the program.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah, I know that you are a double major. For this question, let's just focus on organizational leadership. What first got you interested in organizational leadership?
That's actually a really, really great question. I started at Purdue with just English, but as much as I love my English degree and the classes that I take, I was still wanting more of kind of a business side of things, and I was exploring all my different options with where I could go at Purdue. And my roommate and one of my good friends was sharing with me that she had heard of the major organizational leadership and that she thought it might be a good fit for me and it might be something I would like to explore. So I went online and I was researching it through Purdue's website, and I was put in contact with one of the OL advisors. And I scheduled a meeting with her, and I was able to learn a lot more through her about how versatile the degree is, which was very appealing to me to kind of have a lot of different ways that I would be able to use it in my life. And she spoke so highly of the staff and all the amazing professors and connections that you'd be able to make through the major. And overall, I really saw that my values aligned with where the different courses would take me and the different career building opportunities that they would offer. And I really got excited about it. And so I decided to give it a shot. And from the first class that I took up until now as a senior, I have loved almost all of my classes entirely. It's been a really cool experience and a very personalized experience too. So I've learned a lot about myself.
Thank you. The other students here are all majoring in human resource development. What made you major in that? Let's start with Avery, then Meridian, then Karla.
So I wanted to go into a career where there'd be a bunch of different tasks that I could do every day while working directly with people. So I ended up looking into HR, and while I was looking at different schools, I felt like Purdue's covered a lot of ground and it covered all the different fields so that you had a great opportunity after graduation to pick what area of HR you wanted to study, to do your career in. And so I really enjoyed taking a wide variety of classes that covers all of HR. And I've also really found a great community in the Polytechnic, and I really enjoyed that our major is in this like tight knit college. So it's a great fit.
Awesome. I'll go next. So really what made me realize that HRD was the right major for me was kind of the process that I went through to end up in this major. So I knew going into college that I wanted to do something that really engaged with people and helped people out. And so I thought that really the only way to do that would be through the medical industry. So I actually got accepted into Purdue as a pharmacy student. Um, and as I was going through my courses, I just wasn't feeling entirely engaged with the material. And I realized that one of the classes that I spent all of my time on was my economics class. And I didn't spend all my time on it because it was challenging, but because I loved it so much. There was so much extra supplemental material that the professor would provide, and I would absolutely love just digging through all of it, all of the podcasts, different case studies, articles that he would provide, and just really taking the time to read all of them. So that's when I realized that I had more of a calling towards the business sector than I did more so in the medical field. But I didn't want to lose that human element. And so that was kind of how I came to HR, because I'm able to work in the business setting that I really enjoy, but also still making an impact on people as well.
Yeah, kind of bouncing off
Oh,
all that.
fantastic.
Sorry.
Are you ready, Karla?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So at a young age, I knew that I wanted to help people, except I wasn't sure if it was through being a doctor or a lawyer, but I knew that I wanted to work with people. So during my college search, I wasn't really sure what major to pick. I was stuck between a psychology major or a business major. So I was like, what can I do with these two things and HR? And so I saw Purdue offer the HRD major and how it used technology such as learning about like data systems and analytics to enhance HR operations. So I thought that was really cool because nowadays technology is really important in today's workplace. And so along with that, I know Purdue really prepares you with the right skills in order for you to be successful in the future. And even for post-graduation, I know there's a big diverse career field that you can choose from. And I thought that it was really great for me.
Wonderful. So, Nathalie, would you please tell us about how students incorporate technology in their study of human resource development? For example, am I correct that the department has a lab for studying virtual reality and augmented reality?
Hey, Natalie, sorry to jump in. I think you're still muted.
Oh my God. Sorry about that again. I don't see my little mute button on my picture. So yes, we have professors at Purdue who are working on all kinds of research in labs all over the university. And it's not just kind of engineering types of labs, but also even human resource labs. So we do have a professor who is looking at some methods to use virtual reality for training. And I think across all of our curriculum, faculty who are doing research try to integrate, the latest findings in their fields. And that's really part of being at a big university like Purdue that really emphasizes research and scholarship. So I can just add on that. And, probably if you've ever looked for a job recently, I know for students, the methods have really changed, right? You might never see a recruiter anymore, especially post-COVID. Your resume is likely to get scanned by, some type of technology and be interpreted by an algorithm. So it really is a kind of innovative field. And I think it was very stagnant for many years, but the last 5 years have been full of innovation for HRD.
Thank you. Scott, I have the same question for you. How do students in organizational leadership incorporate technology in their studies?
Yeah. So I have kind of two ways to answer that question. One, and this may sound strange, but an organization is actually a technology. It's this kind of man-made thing that we design, right, to achieve a certain goal, just like a piece of software. So I think we look at organizations as technology that needs upgraded every once in a while. So when we talk about organizational change, we're talking about upgrading the technology of the organization. So that's a bit of a metaphysical sort of answer to that question. But similar to Nathalie, there are great technology tools that help us make decisions and guide our organizations toward our desired outcomes. And the other thing that we do in our program, and there are other organizational leadership programs around the country, but very few, I'm not sure if any others that I can think of, are embedded within a college that focuses on technology like the Polytechnic, and then a department called Technology, Leadership, and Innovation. So a lot of the curriculum in the organizational leadership program is to understand the technology development process or the innovation process, all the way from where do great ideas for a technology come from? How do you discover what the potential users of that technology might want? And then how do you design those features into it? And so our students get to do work in new product design. They get to do work in understanding the innovation process. They get to jump in a lab and do some 3D printing because we know that a prototype is often a first step not just 3D printing, but if they're developing an app, there are tools and technologies we can use to do that. So I think understanding that organizations are a technology, understanding the technology development process, and then using these great tools. The other thing that I'll mention is we do have 3 concentrations. You don't have to have a concentration, but one is called business intelligence. And that is very hands-on, using technology tools to understand and make decisions about the business. So you get introduced to data visualization, you get introduced to the kinds of platforms like Microsoft BI to create dashboards to help you understand the dynamics that you're trying to manage in an organization.
Thank you. Avery, Meridian, and Karla, the other students tonight are all majoring in human resource development. What made the right major for you? What made this the right major for you? Let's start with Avery.
So, as I said, I knew that I wanted to do HR, but I wasn't quite
This isn't
sure
your
like
question.
what field I wanted to go in. I kind of assumed earlier on that I'd want to do training and development, but I was fresh out of high school. I wasn't sure. And I saw that not only does HRD cover training and development thoroughly, it covers every single part of HR. And so it's been a great way to learn. And now I'm actually leaning more towards talent acquisition post graduation. And I also think that it's a great plan to be able to take that SHRM certification right after graduation to really put yourself ahead of some of the other HR graduates from other schools.
Great, thanks. The other students, Meridian?
Yeah, so I think for me personally, I just really craved having that human piece, and being able to connect with individuals. And so, um, truthfully, like something that I really seek enjoyment of, out of the major is knowing that I can help gear people into enjoying the work that they're in and enjoying the job that they have. It could be through, the hiring process, picking the right candidates that I know will blend in well with the organization, or putting the right people through the right training programs to really help them get intertwined with the community better, and just different things like that, or just building up the organization culture in general through different HR practices.
Nice. So I'd like to ask you to tell us, students, about something that's a good memory in your major so far. Let's start with Sara.
So one of my favorite projects that I was able to do was through a class called Tech 220, Designing Technology for People. And we were put into groups and assigned a user group. My group was assigned hikers. So we got a certification to do some interviewing and do some benchmarking with some kind of in-person observations, just to kind of gather information and data about where there may be gaps or issues arising for this user group, and how we could come up with some sort of technological or innovative solution to that problem. But we wanted it to come from our research specifically. And so we were able to develop a prototype based upon an issue we saw where a lot of people would get lost or find their way off of a trail. And we called it On Track. And we would use like GPS coordinates and abilities to help people with a personalized sort of map of different national parks and areas. And the device On Track would allow them to know if they were off the trail and kind of guide them back to the trail. Because a lot of times apps and things like phones don't have wireless connection when you're kind of deep in the woods or you're trying to disconnect. So we were able to kind of come up with this solution, and it was this semester-long project, and we were able to do a whole competition with it in the end. And it was just a really fun experience that I think a lot of majors, especially within the Polytechnic at Purdue, get the opportunity to do here, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. So, Meridian, what comes to mind for you and why?
Yeah, so for me personally, kind of like the best memory in my major so far would honestly have to be this past semester that I had. Um, the major, there's not a whole lot of people that are in it, just in general throughout the different years. And as you get farther along in your class, you're going to have a lot of the same people in your classes. And last year for me, I actually had like the same group of 15 people in every single class with me every single day. But it honestly created this whole new learning experience that I hadn't had in any of my previous semesters, because we all got to know each other on so much of a deeper level, that we kind of broke through that like awkwardness barrier that you have with some classes that are more discussion based. So then, people were able to just communicate off of one another without, sitting and waiting and being like, okay, well, who's going to answer this one? Who's going to answer the next? Because we all were just so involved with one another. And it even got to the point where towards like the middle or end of the semester, we all went and started attending the different career fairs with one another. Just it developed this whole community that I wouldn't have even imagined would have happened. But it just ended up happening so organically. And I'm glad that I still have those same 15 people for me. In this next semester, some of them are going to end up graduating, but I will still have some more of them going into next fall as well.
Thank you. Karla, what about you?
Yeah, so I am a first year student, so there's not that many classes that I've taken yet, but I can already say that the first year classes are much better than high school classes for sure. But a memory that I have is from a current course that I'm taking, which is human resource management. And it basically just oversees all the key aspects of what HR managers do and what makes HR HR. And what I love about this course is that it assured me that I am in the right major. I find everything in this class very interesting, and I see myself in this sort of career, and it makes me very excited for the future. And along with this is like a favorite experience that I have is doing this Q&A, because a year ago I was in the same place as a prospective student, and I know that this is a big step and you want to make sure that you're making the right decision. So being an aid to others and hopefully like benefiting others and making the right choice really, really is great.
Thank you. Avery, you're next.
So one of my favorite memories is last year we had a final project, which it's good to say that a final project was a good memory. The project was called Show Us HRD. And it was a very interactive project where at the end, everyone was going to get to see everyone else's projects so that we could compare, see what everyone had come up with. And it was very creative. And so I spent so much time on this project because I was really enjoying doing it. You just had to pick topics from the chapters to go over. And I ended up picking like my favorite episodes from Parks and Rec and The Office, and showing where if they had better HR and HRD involved, things would have gone a lot smoother for them. And it was a great learning experience, but it was also a really enjoyable project to do. And I loved seeing what else my classmates had come up with.
Awesome. Okay. So Scott, when student is majoring in organizational leadership, is it possible to double major? And if it is, are there specific majors that are common to double major in?
Well, of course, we have one in our midst. Sara, of course, is double majoring in English literature and organizational leadership. This may sound strange, but I think you can double major in anything and organizational leadership. And we have had double majors from lots of different fields. The other thing that you may find of interest is that there's also an organizational leadership minor. So a lot of students from other programs decide to minor in organizational leadership. And then some of those decide, oh, I'd like to have even more of this kind of content. And then they may double major. So for instance, the organizational change class that I teach, it's a large class, often over 100 students. And the reason it's large is because it's part of the minor as well. So I'm teaching that right now. In fact, I taught it earlier today. And there are literally students from all over campus, every kind of engineering, nursing students, vet students, pharmacy students. And many of those, or not many, but some of those will decide to double major. At Purdue, sometimes we talk about the T-shaped professional. And that T means that a lot of people can benefit from this part of the T, which is a deep technical skill, whether you're learning coding or whether you're learning engineering or what have you. You also need skills on the top of the T. And those are often the skills that you get in organizational leadership, how to motivate people, how to understand organizations. So that T shape is very desirable for some people. And then it can go the other way as well. Some of our organizational leadership students decide to go deep in a T with a minor in a more technical field. So it's a flexible major that you can pair with a lot of other majors or combine a minor on one side or the other and really present yourself as a very competitive candidate when you're ready to get that first job.
Awesome. Sara, I believe that you're double majoring in organizational leadership and English literature. Way to go. Would you tell us about why you picked English literature and how you've been able to juggle both the demands of the major in liberal arts and getting a BS in organizational leadership?
Absolutely. So I picked English because I really love reading and writing. I find English to be kind of a passion of mine, along with organizational leadership. And liberal arts is an incredibly valuable way for me to expand my worldview and learn about others through different works and artistic pieces. And this major kind of has gone hand in hand really well with a lot of the leadership qualities and technical abilities that I've explored in organizational leadership, especially when it comes to diversity and inclusion and leading discussions. And I think both have presented me with so many opportunities to be a good leader because of all the different things that I've learned in both classes. Balancing both is actually it's kind of challenging at times, but I have a lot of really supportive people, from like professors to friends, to my advisor. I wanted to graduate by this May, and being a double major, you have a lot more on your plate to complete. So I'm taking a lot of credit hours this final year just to make sure I can graduate on time. And I was able to do that because of my professors supporting me and vouching for me that I'd be able to handle it, and working with my advisor to kind of make a plan. And so far, so good. I've been able to follow it. I've also stayed incredibly organized and prioritized school in my life at this point. So once I get the syllabi at the beginning of the semester in my possession, I would be able to kind of map out major assignments and like weeks that may be a lot busier than others, and know when I would need to kind of set that on my priority list, or which class would be more demanding. And so it's been really fun to kind of do both, but it's definitely been a challenge to do both.
Okay, Nathalie, a similar question for you. Is it feasible for students in human resource development to pick another field to double major in?
Sure, anything is feasible at Purdue. I think it's exactly what Sara just said. It's how well you are at planning and when you decide to do these things. So if you come in as a freshman and you know that's something that you want to plan, your advisor will work with you to fit it in. And it's really wonderful to hear, the examples that the students gave about their experiences, and being able to have your passion as part of your education is really wonderful, whether you do it as just one major or merging majors. And I think you'll find in the Polytechnic and in our department in particular, it's really we want everybody to succeed at that, right? We want everybody to get a positive experience. So people will work with you, but inevitably, you know, you have to do the work. You have to be a planner. You have to map out what your semester looks like, where the big, you know, stress points will be, to be able to do it. But I should say also I think liberal arts is a great example of where you can do that because of some of the flexibility in the academic programs. I know that we have some psychology majors also. And I think it's really strategic in the job market today to kind of have that mix of whether it's your passion or just this other set of skills that give you a whole other viewpoint on the world. As well as some of these more practical applied skills that allow you to see where that knowledge fits in your career or within an organization and how you can leverage it.
Okay, thank you. Any of our other students double majoring? Okay. So Scott, let's talk about internships and other real-world experiences. What do students in organizational leadership do during their time at Purdue to get real-world experience before they graduate?
Yeah, so, you know, when it comes to internships and those kinds of experiences, it really is up to the student to seek those out. But there are so many opportunities. No one's going to hand you an internship. But if you make it be known that you want one and you are going to things like an industrial roundtable, if you are active on LinkedIn and letting your LinkedIn community know that you are looking for internships, you will find internships. We have students that get internships beginning in their first summer between freshman and sophomore year, and then another between sophomore and junior. And then very often, the last internship they have, if it goes well, they end up with a job offer. Doesn't happen every time. A lot of big companies specifically recruit from organizational leadership for both interns and jobs. One of our students just today came down and let me know that he got a job offer from PepsiCo just yesterday. Interviewed on Friday, got the job offer on Monday. And he's going to be a team leader from day one. So PepsiCo, we have another one of our student colleagues who 2 weeks ago got a job with Hershey's. I don't know what is it about food companies and beverage companies that like our organizational leadership students. But there are both big companies and smaller companies that are looking for the skill set that our organizational leadership students have. But you know, Sara is a planner, and you have to be a planner to get internships, right? You have to be thinking about it. I have a son who'll be starting Purdue as a freshman this next year, not in OL probably, but then I have a senior who's in data visualization, and I've told them from their freshman year, if you want an internship, a paid internship this summer, you need to start working on it late in the spring semester or in the fall semester, because they make those decisions in the spring semester. You have to seek them out, but they're there for the seeking.
That's great. And there are career fairs on campus every semester. So companies can recruit for full-time jobs and internships. When I went to one, Pepsi Cola was there, and they wanted organizational leadership students. A lot of also, I think Land O'Lakes wanted organizational leadership too. So it was very interesting. And I'm glad that Purdue gives a lot of opportunities for that. So Nathalie, how do students in human resource development get real world experience?
So I think it's essentially what Scott said. Purdue has a lot of resources available if you are motivated to seek them out. No one is going to knock on your dorm room and slide a whole bunch of offers under, or slide offers under your door. And I think these programs, whether it's OL or HRD, provide a lot of very hands-on skills and experiences that that appeal to recruiters. I know, students in HRD that I was teaching, they had very tangible skills that translate directly to an HR job, an entry-level HR job, and they were quite successful at getting excellent internships and job offers. But through Purdue, I mean, sometimes we have international students who can't do internships too, but there are very experiential programs and courses where you can get the equivalent of work experience that can be on your resume. So I think, like I said, if that's a priority for a student, there are plenty of opportunities.
Thank you. So students, let's talk about how you balance studies and your life at Purdue. What do you like to do when you're not studying? And are you involved in any student organizations? Let's start with Meridian and then Karla.
Yeah, so for me personally, I ended up getting really lucky and I had an internship this past summer and they offered me part-time employment while I'm here at school. So generally when I'm not studying or in classes, I'm working for them. Another activity that I very much enjoy doing is running. Doing everything with academics can be very stressful at times. And so I find that going out for a long run kind of helps me to decompress all of that. Um, and kind of just like reset and restart. And then whenever it comes to student organizations, I'm involved in the Society of Human Resource Management, the SHRM chapter here at Purdue, as well as the Outing Club, which is just kind of fun. And, on weekends, they'll go out hiking. They have different resources for like rock climbing and kayaking, really just anything outdoorsy that you can think of. So that's really nice to do like on the weekends, again, as a way to like kind of refresh and restart and get ready to start back in on Monday.
All right, thank you. Karla?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of my free time at the co-rec. I do take advantage of those Group X classes, which are just fitness classes that consist of yoga, Zumba, cycle, all that. But for student organizations, I am fairly active in Horizon Student Support Services, which is just a federally funded TRIO program that serves and assists first generation, low income, and students with disabilities. And they offer support through free tutoring, free printing, study abroad experiences, peer mentorship, and faculty mentoring. And I'm currently in the process of being a peer mentor, and I will be studying abroad with them to Costa Rica in May, which is really exciting. And then I'm also a part of SHRM. And also with SHRM, I'm a part of Young Professionals in Human Resource Development, which are pretty similar. They really promote professional development in HR and really just get you some experience in there by like having guest speakers come in, resume building, and free headshots, or even just like minimal conversations with your colleagues, because that can also be useful too. But yeah.
Great. All right. So finally, Sara and Avery, what do you like to do when you're not studying? Let's start with Avery.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a Polytechnic ambassador, and I'm also involved with the Society for Human Resource Management. I'm also the vice president of Women in Tech, so I run the mentorship program through Women in Tech, where we pair up younger students with older girls in their major, and I really enjoyed doing that. We had a fun trivia night 2 weeks ago. There were prizes. It was great. I've also done 2 case competitions this year, and I really enjoy spending that with my time. It's a little competitive, but it's fun, and it's a great learning experience. I also love to wander to the Cat Cafe and the Lafayette when I have time, again, to kind of de-stress and reset.
Thank you. All right, Sara.
When I'm not studying, I'm usually relaxing in some way, whether it be kind of watching TV or reading like just for fun. I also really love exploring the area and going on walks, trying new restaurants. I think that's a really cool thing about where we are kind of in Lafayette. But as a senior, the biggest thing I've been doing in my free time is a lot of career building and a lot of networking, trying to schedule time to meet with other people to learn more about their career path or connections, scheduling interviews, things like that. And when I'm not doing that, I like hanging out with my roommates or my friends or other girls in my major. Yeah.
Okay. Natalie, what advice would you have for incoming students to be successful at Purdue and in human resource development?
Okay, my best advice for any incoming student is go to class. If you don't go to class, it's difficult to be successful. But if you show up, you're 3/4 of the way there. So that is my critical advice. I think, one thing I try to tell students is nobody's thinking about you, or like, don't get paralyzed by worrying about speaking in class. Nobody's going to be talking about your question that you asked for 3 hours after the class because they're so consumed with their own concern about themselves. So, speak up, talk to your professors, especially. Sometimes I learn very interesting things about students that I wish I knew in week 1 or 2, and I end up finding in week 14. And I always find that kind of sad, because I don't know, I could have had, 14 extra weeks of engagement on another level with them. So definitely, professors aren't scary, most of them at least, and they are very happy to talk to you and help you and guide you, and they will spend time with you, and that's not a burden. That's why we do this job. Yeah, and meet your peers, like these students said. We're lucky we have, like, when you get in those more senior classes, that you're really with a small cohort, and HRD in particular is a relatively new major, and those are your colleagues in the future. So you're not just making friends, but you're making people that will be able to create connections for you and jobs and things like that in the future. So that's about it.
Hey, Scott, what advice do you have for incoming students to be successful in organizational leadership?
Yeah, well, like Natalie said, come to class, even if it's at 7:30 in the morning. I'm teaching a 7:30 class this semester. I didn't pick that time. I don't really want to be in class at 7:30 in the morning, and my students certainly don't. But do whatever you can to be in class. Get to know one another, get to know your faculty members. As Natalie said, we don't try to be scary. I remember being kind of intimidated by my professors, but we're just people. Most of us, many of us, are also parents, and I try my best not to parent my students. They don't need another parent, but I am a dad, and I care for my students almost like they're one of my own. So one of the things I tell my own sons: when you need help, ask for help. Everybody would love to help you, but we can't unless we know that you need help, right? I'm so grateful that the conversation about mental health and anxiety is more in the forefront than it used to be. And if you're struggling, let folks know you're struggling, and we can help. We can help find resources for you. And many times those resources are among peers. One of our organizational leadership colleagues started a club called the Anxiety Support Club. I serve as the faculty advisor for that. Her name is Jenna. And I remember her first event, she said, is anyone going to show up if they have like social anxiety? Well, tons of people showed up. So they have Bob Ross painting nights, and they do all kinds of wonderful stuff. So whatever you're going through, there are other people going through it as well. And so find those supports. Kind of the last thing, and some of our students kind of said this, but one advice I got from a student for my own children was find a club that's related to your major or the career that you want, and find another club that's just for fun. So my own son was part of a Mario Kart club, and then a club related to data visualization. And it was just kind of the perfect pairing, and great advice he got from an older student. So I try to pass that on to students as well.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the students, Sara, what is a piece of advice that you would give to incoming freshmen?
The biggest piece of advice I think I'd give is to just own your experience, which kind of includes what Scott and Natalie were saying, where just go to class and go to office hours, really take advantage of all the opportunities that you have because your experience is going to be entirely unique to you. And I really looked at my graduation plan and I made a goal for myself, and then my ability to communicate that with the people like my advisors and professors to be able to make it happen was the only way that it was going to happen. So I think owning your experience is really important, and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone in order to kind of have those experiences is really crucial to your growth throughout college. So yeah, I would definitely say go to class and go to office hours and push yourself out of that comfort zone.
All right. So next, Avery.
It's pretty simple advice, but I would say to put yourself out there, especially as an out-of-state student. When I came here, I did not know anyone going to Purdue, so I was really nervous about meeting people and also it being such a big school. And so I'd really remind students that everybody else is new too. Your freshman year, nobody else really knows what's going on. So everybody's looking to make friends, everybody's looking to join clubs. Professors know that you're a freshman too in a lot of your freshman classes, so go to office hours, email them if you have questions. It's really not a big deal. Everybody else is in the same position, and you can get a lot out of putting yourself out there.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. How about Karla?
Yeah, so as Avery was saying, your first year of college is definitely challenging because of getting used to the change, and it can be very intimidating. So my biggest advice is to not underestimate your abilities and know that you are capable of many things, even if it doesn't seem like it at the moment, because I know that you will end up in the position that you are meant to be.
Okay. Thank you. And finally, Meridian.
Yeah, so I think the best piece of advice that I have, taking from my own personal experience, would be just because there's a change of plan doesn't mean that it's a setback. I thought whenever I got that acceptance letter to Purdue that I'd be here for 6 years and graduate with a pharmacy degree, and that did not end up happening. And that's okay, because I actually ended up finding a true passion in life and a career that I really want to be in long term. So it ended up working out just the way it was meant to.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank all of you for answering questions so well. And as you can tell, I'm having some hearing audio issues and I'm on like a 2 or 3 second delay. So thank you for having patience with the technical issues on my end. I appreciate you all. So this concludes our discussion tonight. Thanks again to all of you for watching and for submitting your questions. And we hope that you learned something new about organizational leadership and human resource development majors. And thank you again to all the panelists for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And thanks as well to John, our technical director, for all of the behind the scenes work and keeping me up to date on what's happening behind the scenes. As I mentioned before, feel free to send emails to techrecruit@purdue.edu if you have additional questions for us about majors at Purdue. And we hope you will join us for more upcoming events for admitted students, including Purdue's for Me, which is an opportunity to visit Purdue with your family. There's also many online information sessions and student-to-student chats. You can find information of all these and all these opportunities for our admitted students on the admitted students information page. You may like to see 1 or 2 of our future YouTube broadcasts, including Women in Technology, which is on March 7th, Diversity in Polytechnic on March 8th. Finally, on March 12th, a YouTube broadcast will focus on student life at Purdue for all students admitted into Polytechnic majors. All the broadcasts are listed online at polytechnic.purdue.edu/live. Just a quick reminder, the deadline to accept your offer for admissions at Purdue is May 1st. Thanks for being here tonight. Have a great evening and boiler up.